Hey, Buckeye fans! Welcome back in. This is Obi with the Obi Sports Talk Show. Here to talk about some Buckeye football. We're going to look back at the game for this last week, break it down. I haven't had a chance to do that yet, so we're going to break that down a little bit, talk a little bit about that. And we're going to talk about our upcoming matchup with Oregon. Woo, buddy, Oregon's going to come to town, and that's going to be quite the battle. We'll get into that in just a minute here. We'll talk about that game a little bit. But I wanted to touch a little bit about last week's game against Minnesota. Buckeyes won 45-31. It was a back and forth game there for a while. You know, first quarter, first half in general just kind of started out kind of slow. Ohio State looked a little sluggish. And Minnesota came to play. They had a blueprint of success to try to pound the ball with their talented running back, Ibrahim. And he did not disappoint for them. Had 30 carries, 163 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a long of 56. But he got hurt and late in the ball game, and unfortunate for him, he's going to miss the rest of the season. Disappointing. Tried to come back for senior year, tried to do a little bit more for Minnesota. It just wasn't meant to be. But Minnesota gave Ohio State all they had. They really did. They played really well. They were up 14-10 going into the half. Third quarter hit, and C.J. Stroud got on fire, if you want to put it that way. He found Chris Olave for a score, Garrett Wilson for a score, and he would go on to find Trayvon Henderson for a score. But the turning point really in this game that really kind of set the tone in the third quarter was the strip sack by Zach Harrison. And Haskell Garrett picked it up, scooped and scored, and Ohio State just kind of rolled on from there. It was a great game for Ohio State. On offensively, they look awesome. If C.J. Stroud could continue to find his guys and get the ball to Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson, and a guy like Trayvon Henderson, who had one catch for 70 yards, and really phenomenal run. Mayan Williams had 9 carries, 125 yards, a touchdown, a long of 71. And the interesting thing is they said that he actually went the wrong way. He had to run one off for 70-some yards. But that was pretty impressive. That was pretty impressive all in its own. He really looked good throughout the entire game. He had 9 carries, 125 yards, along with 71 and a score. Trayvon Henderson really also did really well. I mean, he didn't get a whole lot of touches. He only carried the ball twice for 15 yards, but the one catch for 70. Chris Olave, 4 catches, 117 yards, and 2 scores. And then Garrett Wilson had 5 catches for 80 yards. And some of these other young receivers didn't quite get in there and make an impact a little bit. Maybe that was just the flow of the game. They just figured, hey, let's try to get the ball on our playmakers today, and then we'll kind of reassess things going forward. We'll have other opportunities to get some other guys in good form and get ready to go here. Let's set Brutus up here. But, yeah, it was, all in all, it was a great game by the offense, even though they kind of started off a little bit slow. C.J. Stroud, 13 of 22, 4 touchdowns, and a pick. And the jitters showed for him. They really did, and he'll be all right. Get that first game out of the way on the road, a hostile environment, Minnesota, the crowd noise playing against him, maybe kind of got to him just a little bit, the nerves. But he was able to settle himself down and rely on his playmakers to make plays. On the defensive side of the ball, they gave up 1,425 and 25 pass attempts, 14 completions for Tanner Morgan, 205 yards, and a touchdown. Like I said, Abraham rushed for 30 yards, 30 carries, 163 yards. And Potts came in and did 10 for 34. Other than that, they kind of spread the ball a little bit around a little bit. The receivers, D. Jackson, had 3 catches for 58 yards. D. Wright kind of had a little coming out party for them, and maybe he could be good going forward once they get Bell back. He'll be a good asset for Tanner Morgan. He had 5 catches, 57 yards, and a touchdown. And Spanford had 3 catches, 44. And Brownston had 2 catches for 34 yards. So they spread the ball around a little bit there. And at first the defense kind of looked a little bit lost, a little bit confused. But as the game went on, they tightened down. They made the big plays when they had to, and they were able to cause a couple fumbles, and they recovered 2 fumbles. Ironically here, so that was good, and they were able to force them a little bit and cause some fumbles, which was good. That's what you needed, and it turned the game around a little bit. And maybe there was some questionable calls in there about targeting that kind of didn't go Minnesota's way. And that's always such a gray area. What is targeting? What is not? What was targeting designed for? Targeting was designed for a guy that was actually trying to hurt a player. When a guy's trying to wrap a guy up, he's coming at full speed. They try to look at the intent and whether or not he was trying to hurt the guy. And a lot of times you don't see the players are not trying to hurt other people. That's never their intention. And I understand what they're trying to do. They're trying to protect players, and they didn't. They went. Luckily for Ohio State, they went in our favor. But some guys that really stood out. Mitchell had 11 tackles, 10 tackles for him. Hickman had 11. Those are the 2 guys that were playing the linebacker or the bullet position. Simon had 7 tackles. Gant had 8. Proctor had 7, and Simon had a sack. Zach Harrison had a sack. So, they did what they needed to do on defense. They bended, but they did not break. And we were missing some key guys in the secondary. Did that play a factor into maybe how do we know to figure out how good Ohio State's defense is? That's to be seen. There's a lot of guys, they try to rotate a lot of guys in on defense to kind of keep guys each other fresh. Because really Minnesota controlled the time of possession. They ran more plays than Ohio State. They had 24 first downs to our 17. They were 8 of 14 on third downs. We were 4 for 8. They were 1 for 1. Total yards, we had 495. They had 408. Passing 294 to 205. Interceptions, we had 1. Rushing yards 201 for us, 203 for them. The 2 turnovers for them, we had the 1. The key thing was, like, you look at the possession, they had the ball for 38 minutes and 41 seconds, and Ohio State had it for 21-19. So going forward, Ohio State maybe wants to try to change the way they control the ball a little bit. Maybe try to go establish a little bit more of a running game, try to be a little bit more balanced than maybe what they were. Maybe they feel like they could have been more balanced in that regard. But you can't get much more balanced than what you were, 201 and 294. So. But offensively, maybe you just try to see, hey, can we control the clock more? Defensively, maybe we try to say, hey, we need to step up and get more plays, get more stops on defense than we did. Not getting up as many third down conversions and not getting up those fourth down conversions to try to get off the field a little bit more. Get your explosive offenses out there. And maybe that will change going forward because, you have. Maybe you won't rotate as many guys in. You kind of see what you have, and there's guys a little banged up a little bit going to the game last week and being a Thursday game, and you just want to be more prepared. The weather conditions kind of didn't play that factor, so maybe they kind of played a little bit more to Minnesota's hands. And Ohio State just like, let's just kind of rotate guys in because of the way the flow of the game was going. So we'll see what happens going forward from that. But all in all, it was a great game for Ohio State. As I said, they won 45-31, and they will take on the Oregon Ducks coming up. So let's talk about the Oregon Ducks a little bit. They had a battle with Fresno. They played Fresno State, and they ended up winning 31-24. It was back and forth game for them, and their quarterback Anthony Brown, 172 yards, a touchdown. So maybe it wasn't the best game for him. By his standards, 15-24. Was that because of the way Fresno State's defense was playing? Possibly. They were trying to zone in on him, and he's a very mobile quarterback, and maybe they were trying to put the edge a little bit, and maybe that's where Ohio State's defense needs to kind of look at. Stay in your position, stay in your lanes, try to get some pressure on him, make him be a pocket passer, and maybe you can have more success. They actually had, on defense, 3 sacks on them, so they were able to get to him. Can Ohio State get more than that? Maybe, possibly. Their running game Verdell had 18 carries, 74 yards, a touchdown. Dye had 13 for 64. And Brown had 16 of 56. So they spread the ball around a little bit in the running game. Now, is that what they're going to do going forward? It's hard to say. They might want to try to settle on one or two guys, and maybe it was just a flow of the game. They just had to try to get more guys involved to try to change things up, try to keep Fresno State guessing. And they may have to do the same thing against Ohio State. Just try to keep Ohio State guessing and be more balanced. Maybe they feel like they need to be more balanced than what they were and going forward. Jade Johnson, who seems like he's their best wide receiver, had 3 catches for 76 yards and a touchdown. And Pittman had 3 for 40. And then Kay Hudson, the other guy, 2 for 22. And then Jay Red, the other guy that they try to get the ball to. They try to spread it around a little bit. That's what Oregon does. They're a spread offensive team. They try to get as many players involved as they can in plays. And they got some good receivers. I mean, you look at the receivers. Johnson's a senior. Pittman's a sophomore, but Red's a senior. So I don't know about Hudson. I don't know much about him. But it's guys that they're trying to get the ball to them as much as they can. And is that true to Fresno State's defense? Did they play the type of defense that didn't give him a whole lot of time to throw the ball a little bit, or did they try to band in a little bit too much? I didn't get a chance to really watch the game as much as I would have liked to. But just kind of looking at it, it just kind of looked like maybe they took Fresno State for granted. Maybe they just thought it was going to be a walkthrough game, and Fresno State played hard. They put themselves in position to win that game. They just felt like came up short. But they also say that the game really turned on defense when Thibodeau left with an injury, and he is listed as day-to-day. But I just saw something on the depth chart that says for the game supposedly that he is going to try to give it a go. And how healthy is he? If he's not 100%, does that take away from his game a little bit? Is he going to be explosive off the ball? Is he going to be a little bit slow? Is he going to be trying to be favoring that side a little bit? Is he going to be able to get that penetration for them? Is it smart for them to play him if he's not really 100% healthy? Or is it better to have a Thibodeau that's 70, 80%, 90%, as opposed to 100%? Could it be an injury that he could re-injure very easily? Yeah, it's possible. So they got to kind of keep that in mind a little bit going forward about whether or not they can. It's a right move to play him or not. Does it play in their favor? I did hear that they did lose. They are going to be without their linebacker, Drew Mathis. He is out. He's ruled out for the game with a leg injury. So they're already down one player, him, and then maybe not a healthy Thibodeau. That could play dividends, and maybe Ohio State will be able to take advantage of that a little bit, kind of be able to run the ball a little more, and it maybe kind of keep him contained and make other guys Oregon's defense step up. Oregon always put together a pretty solid team all the way around, offensively and defensively. And possibly having some of our defensive backs back in the game, and maybe having a guy like Harry Miller back on the offensive line, it'll make a difference on the defensive side and on the offensive side of the ball. And they continue to make plays and get penetration on Brown as much as you can. Try to keep him contained. I feel like that's what Fresno State was able to do. So I hope I answered some of the questions that were asked me to provide for you information on. Oregon does have playmakers on offense and defensive side. They're no joke. They are a good football team. There's no doubt about that. They have a good coach. They're very well coached. Their coach is Mario Cristobal at Oregon. He's 35. He's 35-10 in 4 years, with overall 52 and 57 in 9 years. Of course, adding one more win to that, so he's now 26-10. And 53 and 57. So he's a pretty solid coach, and they will look to not come to Ohio State, knock out Ohio State at noon. So a little bit different thing for them. They're not used to playing maybe that early in the morning. It'd be 9 o'clock their time. But like Cristobal said, hey, we're going to come prepared. We know what we got to do, and we'll see how Ohio State executes. Ohio State has all the tools and potential to win this game. They just need to execute and do a better job as they than they did last week against Minnesota and not get caught outside of their lanes and thrown off guard by any of that kind of things that Oregon will throw against them. Oregon's going to try to spread it out, confuse their defense, and who knows what kind of defense they're going to run against Ohio State. They're going to try to get their corners. They're going to be able to try to do a good job. Their corners are led by are young. They're a little bit young. Their secondary's a little bit young. They're sophomores. So they got to cover some speedy guys, and maybe this is the time of the game where you see another guy like somebody like Jackson Nigba step in, maybe Fleming, maybe Marvin Harrison comes in and does something. Maybe Rucker gets more involved. They're able to run more screen passes to Williams and Henderson. But I think going forward, Henderson, Mayan Williams, and Trayvon Henderson are your two running backs. Teague, maybe short yard situations when you need a tough yard or two, maybe you could throw him out there. But I think Teague is number 3 back right now. And I hate to say it, knock on Teague, because he's a competitor, he tries hard. But when it comes down to it, Ohio State needs to rely on Mayan Williams and Trayvon Henderson. They're just that much better, and they got the speed to show for it. With that being said, Ohio State is favored by 14. I think they win by 14. I could see them possibly winning by 3 touchdowns, maybe by 17, 18 points. I just think we've got more talent than they do, and they're coming to the shoe, and it's a tough place to win. And we're not gonna look at the records of stuff like that. You hate to throw that stuff in there with the records against Ohio State. Going forward, they're 0-9 against Ohio State, so hopefully that does not backfire on us. Let's let them wait a little bit longer to get their first win against Ohio State. But at the end, I think Ohio State's going to come out on top. They're going to win by 3 They'll win by about 17 points or so. I'll make a better determination as it gets closer to game time. But I wanted to get this video out there so you guys can kind of think about it, kind of give yourself some thoughts, comment about what you think. What do you think is going to happen? What are some things that you see about Oregon that I didn't mention? What are some things you like about Oregon that you don't like, that you think Ohio State can maybe take advantage of, or be a disadvantage for Ohio State? Maybe there's some that you think that Ohio State will have a problem with certain players at different times. Whether it be the passing game, the running game, or on offense trying to block their defensive line or linebackers and whatnot. So there are without a couple of key players and possibly another big name, but we will see. We will see what Ohio State has available as well. Hey guys, it's always a pleasure talking Buckeye football with you and any sports with you. I just hope you all have a great rest of your day, and go Buckeyes. This is Toby out.